Hi, I'm Kitty, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Today we have brought things down a floor from the attic, so hopefully the change of scenery isn't too jarring, but I thought it was a little nicer down here, a little more comfortable. This chair doesn't swivel, so hopefully I won't drive everyone crazy swiveling, because I don't know, no one else commented on it, doesn't seem to have bothered anyone, but when I was editing, it drove me crazy. So welcome, and let's talk a little bit about knitting this week. It's been a few weeks since I last checked in, and let's go ahead and get started with almost a finished object last time, so it's just gonna be a real quick talk this time about my mother-in-law's Christmas gift. I decided to make it a pom-pom. I sewed on its tag and I wove in all the ends, and that's really all there is to say about this project. If you're curious about it, about my decision to make or not make a pom-pom, I talked about it a lot in my last podcast, so go check that one out. But I decided not to worry too much about it being too tight. She's got a small head. She complains about having a small head so much. If it's too small for her, I can remake it. I think I have almost enough yarn to make this again. This is a kit that I bought from Stunning String Studio. I got it at the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival. It came with the 2 colors of yarn, the tag, and it has a little heart button that I will be adding to the map where she lives. But I thought for privacy's sake, not that a button on a map on a colorwork hat would really give that much away, but better safe than sorry. So I'll be adding the button very soon. I'm very proud of myself for how quickly I got this done. As far as gift knits go, for me in the past, I have been a very last minute gift knitter, which is why I really don't do much gift knitting or other crafting gifts very often. I felt like people didn't really understand or appreciate the effort that went into them sometimes, which made me feel grumpier than I wanted to. And also, it was just unnecessary stress on me. So I only do it when I feel like it's the right moment. I don't try to put pressure on, like, oh, I have to make something for everyone or anything like that. I do what brings me joy. The whole point of crafting is to bring me joy. So that is what I did. So there's the hat finished up with all those little nice finishing touches. It's looking nice. My mom is trying to convince me to make one for my dad. He is also from Michigan. And I thought it would be kind of fun to do it in the University of Michigan colors. But I really wanted the tag, and I can't buy the tag separately. It only comes as part of the kit, which makes me feel frustrated. So I don't know. That also got me going down a whole rabbit hole of, is it worth it to order custom leather tags for gift knits that I make when I really don't make that many gift knits? But I love a finish. So I don't know if anyone has any experience ordering a custom leather or faux leather tag, what shop you used. It's such a hit or miss thing on Etsy these days. I feel like it used to be more trustworthy than it is. And I just don't know if it makes sense to do that, but let me know what your experience with custom knitting tags is. Either leather or like sew-in, like embroidered tags. Let me know. Let me know if you have a good or bad experience. Because I'm curious. I'm curious about getting those. Even if it's just for things that I make for myself, it might be nice to have a little label. So that's this hat. We have another finished object to talk about. You may have noticed I am wearing my Reset cardigan. This is, let me pull up my information here so I don't mess it up. This is a pattern by La Maison Really. my French is very bad, so take that as you will. But it is a beautiful, beautiful cardigan pattern. I loved knitting this. I took my time, but mostly it took so long to do this construction, but I think it's worth it. I just think the fit through the shoulders and neckline is so beautiful. So the way that this works a little bit without, you know, it giving too much away is you start with the neckband, and it's a ribbed neckband. So you create this little strip, and then you pick up the stitches along the edge, and you have your live stitches on either end still. And you connect that at the back, and you work out, and you use increases. I don't know if this is a saddle shoulder. My heart says it's a saddle shoulder, but I don't know very much. Let's see if it tells me in here. Yes, saddle shoulder. She has it tagged as saddle shoulder. So this is a saddle shoulder construction built entirely out of increases in the right spots. So it goes, you can see you've got stitches going out across the shoulder and then down the front and down the back. And she has wonderfully laid out charts, and I went through like a preschooler, and literally I printed out the pages and I chopped out the pieces that I need. I didn't like try to do this on a computer. I'm sure it would have turned out neater and cleaner. My children have since destroyed this sheet of paper that I created. I think there's blood on it at some point. Having kids is wild. But I cut out the increasing charts for my size and just like crossed it out as I went. And I just had total faith in the process. I followed the numbers, I went through the rows, and I love the way it fit. I was concerned for a little while because some of the increases here, it was giving a little bit of a pucker along this line here with the increases. But after blocking, I'm not really seeing that at all. I think it really, the drape of this is made with 100% alpaca from Enchanted Meadows Alpaca. They have an Etsy shop where you can pick this up. This is a natural undyed color. So I think it's called Fawn. And it's so soft. It's got such a nice, it's a little floofy, but not too, it's not like mohair, but it definitely has a softness, a fuzz to it. It is not like a really like tight spun merino would be, where you get that really crisp definition. It has some fuzziness to it, but it does, I think, give it a very wonderful drape as well. It's got a little bit of a heaviness to it that I really, really enjoy. So where last we left off, I had one sleeve finished, and I had finished that sleeve at my son's, well, I hadn't actually finished it. I modified the pattern a little bit. It wanted you to do increases so that it had more of a balloon shape, but I don't like my balloon sleeves to be too balloony. So I just knit straight down, no increases, but also no decreases, just straight sleeve. And I wanted to decrease at the very end to get the correct number of stitches in the cuff that were recommended in the pattern. And I did math poorly. I was at my son's karate class and I was like, I'm just gonna do this math, and I didn't write down what I did. I was like, I'll remember. I didn't remember. I did not remember at all. So I didn't write down how many stitches. I knew that I decreased over 2 rounds to get from my sleeve count to my cuff. But that's all I remembered, is that it took me 2 rounds of decreases. They were very rapid decreases. and I ended up with the number of stitches in the pattern, but the second round of increases were not quite equal. It wasn't an easily divisible number. I should have just done that because honestly, the cuffs ended up a little bit too tight. They were really nice on the wrist. They feel really comfortable, really easy to get on. But when I try to pull it up on my arm, it's just a little bit tight for, I don't know why I said it like that. It's a little bit tight for how I like to wear my sleeves pulled up. I like to be able to roll up my sleeves so I can like do dishes or change a diaper without sleeve everywhere. So honestly, I probably could have used just a couple more stitches in this sleeve to make that a little bit more comfortable, to get it kind of up on the elbow there. So I finished the one sleeve and I didn't take any notes. No notes, nothing. No little crumbs except the sad bits that live in my memory to lead me to the second sleeve. So I get to the end of the second sleeve, and I think I did a pretty good job matching the length of the straight stitching down the sleeve. And I did a round of decreases, and I went to do a second round of decreases, and it was not correct. I could just tell it was not working out. So I went back and I did a different number of decreases for the first round, and then I think I replicated it. I think they look pretty equal there. I also did not write down how many rounds of ribbing I did on this cuff. So I was just kind of matching them up and going like, that looks good. Bound off. Obviously too big. The right sleeve was significantly longer than the left sleeve, the ribbing. So I took out the bind off. I had done a sewn bind off. So I unpicked the whole thing, undid a round of stitches, thought maybe it's really too long, and undid a second round of stitches, redid the bind off, looked at it and realized I had done the wrong sleeve. At least I think that's what I did. Because I had a larger disparity between the two sleeves after doing that. So I redid that and then switched sleeves, and I undid the left, but it was, just take notes. Future Kitty, editing Kitty, remember, please, just write down what you're doing. It's not that hard. So, I eventually got them. I think they match up really nicely now. I don't know how to not look like a total weirdo doing this, but yeah, I think the sleeves look the same length, that they look the same width. This one does do a little bit of a fold here, so maybe it's not the same length, but they're close enough for me that I don't feel like one of them is longer than the other, so that's all that matters. It's my sweater. I'm the one who's gonna wear it. So there's that. So I think that about sums up my feelings on this sweater. I went rogue on the buttons. I talked a lot about which buttons I was thinking about picking, what I liked. I had two choices. One of them was leaning too warm. It's a very, very neutral brown, this one. So most of the buttons I was picking that were brown were either too cool leaning or too warm leaning. And they looked a little off. So I held up a bunch of my other buttons and I chose these nice kind of mauve blush pink colored buttons. And the pattern calls for an I-cord bind off for both the body and the sleeves. I followed the instructions for the body, and I felt like I was giving it a little bit of a flare at the bottom. And it doesn't bother me there because when I'm wearing it, it is a bit stretched. and I feel like you don't see that flare very much. So I'm leaving it as it is, but I did choose to do the sewn bind off for the sleeves. I think it just gives a really clean looking finish. I use the Pearl Soho tutorial is how I learned how to do the sewn bind off. So I'm never quite sure what is tubular, what is Italian, what is just a sewn bind off. The title of the Pearl Soho video I use is sewn bind off instructions or something along those lines. And I do think that one is meant to be used for flat pieces. It's not instructions for in the round, but I just kind of sew that last little stitch so that they look right. And it's not that tricky, if you ask me. But my brain likes knitting, so what's not tricky to me might be very tricky to someone else, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. So yeah, I do there's no setup rows. I don't slip any stitches. I think that makes it a tubular, and that the regular sewn bind off is an Italian bind off, maybe. I don't know. All I know is that the instructions I follow from the video give me a finish that I like, that has a nice amount of stretch, and it looks nice and clean for a finish. So that is what I did here, but I wasn't going to change this work that I did here. And it does look very clean. Maybe I'll try to get some B-roll I can show this close up. But it looks nice, but it does flare. And I can tell even in the designer's pictures on Ravelry that hers also has that little bit of flare at the edge there. But I think that's about all I have to say about this cardigan. I'm very happy with it. Once again, it is the Reset Cardi by La Maison Relie, and I knit this one out of 100% alpaca. I used a US size 4 needle for the body and a 2.5 for, well, not this ribbing. This ribbing was also on the size 4. It's all knit on the same, in one go. This is not an added neckband. It is part of the body. But the sleeves and the bottom ribbing on the body, I did use a US size 2.5 needle to get that ribbing. And if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments and I will try to answer you there. So that is that. My next project to talk about, we're moving now into whips. And this is really the only other whip that I worked on during this time. And that is my field sweater. So this is a pattern by Camilla Vad. And it is a pullover sweater with a circular yoke with this beautiful, she calls them grains. It's a grain pattern. So you have kind of 2 stems of these grains coming down the yoke of the sweater. It's just a circular yoke with increases, and then there is some short row shaping to lower that neckline at the front a little bit after the yoke. And this is no, this is not the first circular yoke I made. The Cilia sweater, I want to say, I made before. That one was also, that's a circular lace yoke. This is cable stitches. They're these special kind of bobbly cables. I don't know what to call them, but I am probably like 2/3 of the way through the hard part of this sweater. So when I finished the Reset Cardi, I really wanted to cast something new on, and I just couldn't justify to myself starting something new while I still had the hard part of this. I feel like once I get through the yoke of this sweater, it's just stockinette. It's just gonna go so fast. I'm gonna split for sleeves. It'll be a body. There's ribbing. It's gonna be sleeves. There's ribbing. I don't even know if there's decreases in the sleeves. I don't know that I've read. I read the whole pattern. But that was past Kate. As we talked about with the sleeves of this, I can think about something very intensely, work on it, and then zip, it's gone from my brain. So I did read this. I know that there's nothing that I can't execute that was too difficult about this. So I'll talk about it more when I get there. But for now, I'm just still chugging away at the yoke of this. I don't know how well this is showing up on camera because this is a very dark color yarn. This is a BFL 100% superwash from Sun Valley Fibers in the colorway Sherwood Forest. And it is this gorgeous dark green. It's an olivey undertone, very warm leaning green, very dark. And it has more of a tonal quality than like a solid color, but it's not variegated. You know, it's kind of right in that really nice yarn. It has dimension without looking kitschy. I don't know. But I really like it. I'm very happy with it. I'm so close to, this is all I got left in my first ball here. I'm trailing yarn. My first skein is almost up. I've got the next one caked up, ready to go. I might get that tonight, but maybe not. Like I was saying, I don't know how much you can see this because it's dark in here. I don't know what the lighting is looking like. Maybe I can fix it in editing, but I'm filming after my kids went to bed. My husband is out of town for the next couple days, and it gets like dark at 4. So it's dark. There is no natural light to be found. So, you know, hopefully this filming in the dark is better than not filming at all. I hope. I'm in here too because the lighting in this room is better than up in my attic studio space. So I'm really hoping you can see anything going on with this sweater because it can look just like a kind of big black blob. Even though it is green, it is this beautiful dark green and it has this beautiful textured pattern to it. So maybe I'll get some B-roll. I'll show you. It's real squishy. There's part of me that wants to try it on, but it's gotten beyond the point where I can just pop it over my head on the needles without losing a whole bunch of stitches. And I don't feel like pulling out tubing until it's really time to split for sleeves. Before I split for sleeves, I will try it back on. And also this yarn changed a lot with blocking. It really bloomed up quite a bit and filled in those gaps, and I'm hoping that this neckline will relax out a little bit once it has more weight on it and it's been blocked, because for now it looks real tight, and last time I put it on I think it was like right up on my neck. So hopefully it'll chill out a little bit. This one is knit, I want to say on US size 4 needles for the ribbing, and these are a US size 6. Yes, US size 6 for the body. I have experimented several times while making these grains with using a cable needle or a crochet hook or not using anything. So when I have the crochet hook, when I can find it, I keep leaving it places. That is always my problem with using a cable needle or a secondary tool, is that I'm not very organized. So I think I left my crochet hook in the car because I was working on this when I was picking up my kids from school. When I get there, I sit in the pickup line and work on my knitting while I wait for them to be ready. So I think I might have to take an expedition out to the car this evening. But having the crochet hook was especially helpful. There are 2 different sizes of grains. There's small grains and large grains are made up of 5 stitches, and it's just so much easier with the crochet hook to pull through those stitches instead of trying to knit through the back loop 5 stitches with just your needles. I do not recommend that. Would not be fun. The 3-stitch grains, not as difficult. I've been managing since I left my crochet hook somewhere about my house / car. I've just been like kind of pinching the stitches and sliding them around and knitting them, and that has been just fine. But I'm really looking forward to being done with the cabling part of this sweater, and I feel like it's just gonna fly. And maybe I'll just get really bored of it when that is the case, but I've got more things that I can work on with that brain power, because the next thing I'm going to cast on, I haven't done it yet. I've talked about it here before, but the next time you see me, I'm hoping to have it on my needles, is the Keep It Warm sweater by Yanhua Li or Atelier Au Jour. That's gonna be my next project, but I've got some other stuff to talk about today. We'll talk about that once I have it on my needles. I think that's everything I have to say about this little baby. So we have, I don't even know if I should talk about this, but maybe y'all can talk me down from this. My cousin is getting married she's getting married in early January, and I'm going solo. I'm very excited to take a nice little trip by myself, and I thought it would be kind of fun to knit myself a shrug. My mom is kind of notorious for trying to talk everyone into wearing white to other people's weddings, because she's like, oh, it's not white, it's champagne, or oh, it's white, but it has so much gold on it. And like, we have to stop. She has to be stopped. I don't know what her deal is, but she saw this white dress at like TJ Maxx, and she was trying to talk my sister into buying it. My sister was like, absolutely not. But it was this beautiful slip dress with a knitted wrap that came with it. And I was like, ooh, I don't want that in white, but it would be really nice to have a knitted wrap for a January wedding. And I could do that. And Knititude, I think is how you say her name. I don't know how you say it. There's so many things I read and I have no problem reading it, and then I go to say it out loud and I'm like, I don't know if that felt right. So here she is. I saw on Instagram, she recently released this pattern. I don't remember its name right now. It's like braided bridal wrap, maybe even. It has like bridal in there. She has it styled with a bridal gown, and it looks so beautiful. And I thought it would be really fun to make a wrap in this style, where it's like sleeves and a scarf in one. And it's such beautiful and simple construction. And I thought it looked really lovely, but I don't have anything in my stash that's the right weight to make her pattern. I thought I could just draw some inspiration there, and let me grab the actual rest of this yarn. Okay, so I had this yarn here. I picked up Hobby Lobby, maybe? It is a superwash hand-dyed merino, and it's just a really fun variegated blue color. And I had the wrong color of Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk that I picked up that I thought I would use with my Keep It Warm sweater, but it was way too blue for that. I needed more of a gray. This is so clingy. There's like stuff stuck in here. There's so much dog hair and everything. why have anything nice and new when I can knit something that already has all of my dog's hair in it? So I thought these would work nicely together. And I swatched this up and I sent a picture to my sister, and I don't know if it was just the way my camera was blowing out, but she's like, it looks kind of white. But to me it looks really blue. So I don't know. And I don't really have anything else in my stash that I think would work for this. And I don't know if it's a totally crazy idea to try to knit this thing before January. And I tried adding in this. I have, did I bring it with me? No, of course not. I have a stitch dictionary that has this beautiful Lily of the Valley pattern that when they knit it up, it looks so pretty. Whenever I try to knit it up, it looks kind of meh. And I love Lily of the Valley. My wedding ring has Lily of the Valley in it. It's my favorite flower. I think it's just beautiful, but I don't know, this pattern wasn't really working. So I tried a different swatch somewhere. It's gone. Who knows? I might have unraveled it already. But I thought maybe I could just do a cable along the edge instead of trying to mess with the Lily of the Valley pattern. But I just really wanted it to work. But it's not going to. This is not the time. I don't have time to mess around with it being not the right thing. So I'm still not sure if I want to do this. But I knit this beautiful swatch, and I do really love the way that these pair together. I think it worked out really well. And I do wonder if I have enough of this, if I could hold 2 strands of this with this, could I make the gauge of the actual pattern? Because I think it's like an Aran weight, and this is like fingering weight, but it's like a heavy fingering weight. And if you hold it with 2, I don't know. I'm gonna mess around with this more. But I don't know how much, it takes a lot of brain. My brain has been eaten up by the field sweater. And do I want this more than I want to have my field sweater and my keep it warm sweater? And I know I can't wear them for a special event, but I'll wear those more. Would I wear this ever not for a special event? Or would it only be like an evening wear item? And do I want an only evening wear item when I could have potentially like an everyday wear sweater for this winter that I can get so much use out of? I don't know. It could be really fun, and I love knitting with a purpose. I love knitting for an event, but also, like I said when I was talking about the gift knitting, I tend to put myself on too tight a deadline and make it stressful, and that's supposed to not be the point. The point of having this hobby is supposed to be, it's relaxing. So that is something to think about. And on to acquisitions. I didn't really buy anything, but I've acquired some new yarn because I won something. I never win anything, but Jody Long was doing a giveaway on their Instagram, and I won some yarn. So it is their, another one. I read it. I was like, oh, I know how to say this. I don't. Andiamo painted. I got 2 colors. I won this one, and I won this one, and I got some likey needles in the correct sizes to work with it. And they sent me their pattern for the dream hat, which is made out of this yarn. I don't love this pattern. but I do really like the yarn. It's really squishy and soft. It is 85% wool, 15% alpaca. It is super bulky. Wait, I want to say. Can that read? Does it say? I wish they would put the names. I wish everyone could standardize. And I know that it's not, like, if there's a reason why it's not just like, oh, it's worsted, it's Aran. You know, there's in-betweens and whatever it is. But this is giving a gauge, it says, of 12 rows by 9.5 stitches in a 4-inch square. It is 175 yards and 200 grams. So they're big chunks of yarn. But my thought was, how fun would it be to use this as an accent color with a more neutral? So like pull one of these, like in this one, there's this really kind of like pinky creamy color. It's obviously dyed on like a cream colored natural base. And it would be really fun to use this as an accent color. So I pulled a couple of patterns either for blankets or shawls. And there's one shawl that's really calling to me, where it has panels of 2-color brioche, where I just think this would look so cool as that pop of color in a really neutral thing. So this color is not as in my palette as this one is, but I don't know. I still like it. It's really fun. But I'm not making it into a hat. Absolutely not. This, like, I don't like bulky accessories except scarves and shawls, because I don't use them like a scarf or a shawl, really. It would be more like a blanket, like something I just wear around my house, throw it over my chair, by my computer. I can wear it while I'm editing, playing games online, whatever I want. So these, I'm so excited I won something. I never win. So here they are, my yarns and my needles and the pattern. So thank you to Jody Long and their Instagram presence. Very excited about that. But that's gonna have to wait. I have too much in my queue to bump that up. And I also have to really consider what yarn is going to be good to pair with that. It's not easy to find the Jody Long yarns online for purchase. I know that there's several stores that carry them, but it's a little bit more tricky. So I know they make a solid of the Andiamo. There's the painted, and then they also have solids, or Heather. There's both of those. But I was also on Yarn Sub looking at some yarns that would be similar enough that I could pair it with them without it being too mixy matchy. I don't want it to have like too different a weight or feel. So that is that. That is everything that I have for acquisitions. So we've done finished objects, whips, acquisitions, and now I have a little bit of something that I'm doing here. So I decided I didn't buy any yarn advents. I'm not really into advents for a variety of reasons. I don't make a lot of kind of scrappy projects. And if I were to do something like that, I'd want to be either using actual scrap yarn left over from projects that I've made, or I would want to have a very curated palette that I've chosen myself, and just giving up that sense of control in a project is not something that I'm super into. So I did it. It's not for me, not my thing. So, but I still really love the idea of having a little something to open and anticipate each day leading up to Christmas. So a few years ago, I got a reusable advent calendar for my children, and instead of filling it with things, we fill it with activities. So some days we'll have a Christmas music dance party, or we will do a puzzle or a craft, or every day we open it up and do a little something to build our excitement and anticipation for Christmas. So I thought it would be a nice practice for while my kids are at school and I have a few minutes of peace and quiet to have my own little activity in my crafting that I could open every day and have something, just a little fun way to kind of wrap up the year. I want to try to finish some of the objects that have been lingering, that have fallen into hibernation or what may be. So I went through the other day and I cut out 24 pieces of paper and I wrote different projects to work on, different things I can do, mostly projects. So I have a few whips that have been lingering, hanging around way too long that I want to get off the needles, that I want to finish up, fresh start. But I do want to still finish them. I went through all my whips recently and decided there were several that I just didn't want to keep anymore. So I got rid of those, but there were a few that I just need to buckle down and finish. They're not as exciting and fresh and new in my mind. So I thought it would be a nice little practice to take a few minutes every day to work on something like that. So I wrote down different project names that I will work on. So I have the projects that I've been talking about, so like my field sweater, but then I also have things that have fallen off, like I've got a pair of socks for my husband that are on the needles that I haven't made any progress on in months. I have a pair of socks for myself that I haven't made any progress on. I decided to keep the weird cardigan, but I want to fix the ribbing on that and maybe contemplate putting pockets on it. I have a sweater that needs a sleeve lengthened. I knit it at 3/4 sleeves. I didn't like the 3/4 sleeves, so I turned one of them into a long sleeve and the other one is still 3/4 sleeves. So I have two different length sleeves. So I want to finish that. So I wrote down all those names on little slips of paper and I folded them up and taped them shut with some seasonal washi tape. So that every day in December, I can pull one of these out of here, open it up, have that little bit of surprise and anticipation. And some of them are things I'm really looking forward to working on, and some of them not so much. But maybe that control being taken out of my hands might be helpful. So starting on the 1st, I'm going to be opening up one of these every day. I might make a short where I follow my journey working on these things. My dream would be for me to have written enough slips for these projects that I will finish them and I will go into the new year with less of a burden. I have more free time, more availability to work on new and exciting projects. And knowing my family and what I asked for Christmas, I have a feeling I'm going to be bringing more yarn in. So if we can get projects out before I bring new in, that would be very helpful. So we'll see if this works. We'll see if I stick with it. I'm not always the best at follow through, but by saying it here and putting it out on the internet, maybe I'll have a little bit more accountability. Maybe I'm delusional, but we will see. I'll see if this is helpful. And if you want to follow along on the journey, the more you talk about it, the more likely I am to remember it and do it. So help keep me accountable. If you want to see it, be the change you want to see in the world. I don't know. It's getting late. I'm getting tired. So I think we're gonna call it here, but I would love to hear what you're working on. I would love to hear if you got any yarn advent calendars this year. What excites you about that? Are you looking forward to it? What are you planning on making with it? I'm always so curious to see. I've loved some yarn advents, and like I've seen crocheted blankets and knit shawls that have really just looked so beautiful. But I can't relinquish that control. I'm too much of a control freak. So let me know if you're a more free-spirited person than I am. Please share how to let go. And thank you for coming along on this journey with me. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly. If you'd like to see more, if you'd like to see some of these ideas and whips turn into reality, please like and subscribe and follow along here. I'd love to have you back. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.